Good night. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, as you can see, I was speaking to 22-year-old Theory, who is on the panel with us tonight. And I'm so glad he's on while we're talking about this because he knows nothing. All he knows is about Everton is this town. So he's going to be very much educated tonight. So take us from what you can do first in 20 minutes, beginning, middle, and end. Right, take it away, Mr. Baxter.
Okay. First, let me say that as a Emertonian, I blame both political parties in Barbados for destroying Emerton, both B and D. Let me get that out of the way clearly. And let me explain to you why. In 1976, by election, Billy Miller told the people of Emerton, vote for me and you don't have to move. And the people did and were told, too late to turn back now, so you got to go. And that is where the song Emerton came about. It's chapter 2 and 4. Some of us went to Clapham Park, some went to the Pine, some went to Brandon, some even went to St. Philip, all over Barbados. And I'm very fortunate to be the only person in the room when Gabbert, as I call him, write the song Emerton in less than 10 minutes in Clapham Park. We have been fighting for
For
48
48
years.
years.
This is from
This is from
1977
1977.
to now, 48 years. The people have won the case against the governments. And I said governments, because I blame both. As I like to tell people, I ain't no LP. I ain't no DLP, no, I ain't no BLP. I am no LP. I'm a Barbadian who is very disappointed because, in my opinion, Emerton is worse off now 48 years later than it was 48 years ago. The
Mhm.
same Gabberts had said, please don't make us move, faster improve. But you know what they come and say? Oh, the them say that you gotta go and this and that. But if I memory can remind me, members correct, the Dipper did say we gotta move, but he said everybody have to move from Fontybell, Lakes Folly, Kensington Road, Mason Hall Street, and in between. But the present government, when they took over, have never done that. We still got people in Emerton today that living within yards of the sewage plant. It is not as bad as it used to be, as I have been told, but it is still bad. No one should be living that close to a sewage plant. So, but before I get into any more, let me see if you all got any questions for me before I get into everything else.
Yes, sir. So so we're getting the history of this. That this was there's a sewage plant to that they built there, and the plan was to move everybody, right?
Correct. Yes.
And then you guys were promised that, listen, you won't have to move, right? So one political party says, we're going to build this sewage plant here, and we're moving everybody. And then the other political party comes in and said, don't worry, vote for me and you don't have to move. Everybody goes and vote for that party, and it didn't happen. So what's happening now? Well, some people moved, but you're saying that there are people who are still living close to the sewage plant up to this day. They're having any health issues?
Yes, they do. And unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, my family have been identified as some of the worst affected. I have a sister who's still alive, thank the Lord, who was told by the doctor, if you don't move, it's only a matter of time before the sewage plant kill you. And she had to move. She's one of the persons that actually started the fight against the government of the day. But as I said, I blame both governments. I don't think I can stress that enough. Because I know the little bit I know about parliamentary happenings in Barbados. You don't necessarily have to continue a project. You can move it or you can abandon it. And especially when you got a bigger majority. And I believe personally, that just in my opinion, it was a major issue in changing the Dipper government in 1976. Because even though the sewage plant was in Bridgetown, the canvas was all over the country because they're going to affect this body and that body. And even now, Chapman Lane, we got people that live between Kensington Road and Lakes Folly, for those who know the area, that can't even get natural gas. But nobody ain't talking about that. So there's a whole lot of issues. We who grew up in Emerton, and at the time I was fortunate or unfortunate, depending on how you look at it. I used to live between my mom in Emerton and Gabby's mom, my aunt, in Clapham Park. So I was able to see and experience life both ways. we were promised a bus service, and this is 48 years later, and there's no bus service to accommodate the people who live in Clapham Park. So we are still fighting when the bus comes from Sergeant's Village or wherever it comes from to hope we can get on. Yeah, we were told when we first moved, all of these things gonna happen, but the representation went away. Me personally, in my 2 times living in Barbados, I have never experienced a representation as a MP in the city. All of them, in my opinion, represent them people, but not really the people. I could be
Mhm.
wrong, but that's my personal opinion. So before I go any further, any more questions?
Yeah, yeah. Theory, is there anything that someone is, think of a theory if you have a question? Adrian Hines is saying, wait, the DLP said you had to move. The BLP
Yes,
said no. You voted for them and still had to move. He says,
correct.
what am I missing here? Is he missing anything or that's it, basically?
No. That's a part of the thing. Is remember we have been fighting this issue for 48 years. This is not a yesterday problem. It's a 48 years problem. You know, like I said, you still got people living in Emerton, and a lot of people that don't know the facts go around saying, "Oh, but the people in Chapman didn't want to move." Yes, we didn't want to move at the beginning, but when you bring the tourist plant in and it smells
Right.
so bad, even the tourists in the harbor complaining. So you know that the people that live close complaining twice as much. And then you had people that got moved to Clapham Park. Some houses, people say you can't, because they tell you you can't move. Oh, you can't move rent houses. But then certain people, depending on who you're connected to, you get your house moved up. And other people, house get sell. People get moved into housing areas and unfortunately died in the same housing area. Not that there's anything wrong with the housing area, because there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just showing you some of the issues we had. For example, you live in Emerton. Everything is close to you. You walk by Kensington Oval. You're going to fish market. You're going to meat market. You took me now and carry me to Clapham and other places. And in order to get into town now, I got to get a bus. No accommodation. We had in Emerton, we had a community center, 3 playing fields. When you moved to Clapham, we had none of such. None. Zero. Also, I
Mm-hmm.
can tell you this. Unfortunately, again, for my family, the first house that moved from Emerton was belonged to my brother. The government of the day used it as an office, and he dead and gone and never get a cent rent. So
Hold a minute. Hold a minute. So you're saying that after you moved, the government used your house as an office,
not my house, my
your
brother's house.
brother's house.
Yes,
The
and it's the
government,
first house that was moved there. And I can describe where the house is. I can tell you where to go and find it, and you could ask anybody up there. If they're honest, they'll tell you the facts. They're gonna repeat what I said to you. When you
mhm.
go into Clapham Park from across Courtesy Garage, it's gonna be the first house on the right hand side. That was the first house moved from Emerton on
Yes.
June 30th, 1977, 48 years ago. And on the
Mhm.
4th of July, CARICOM holiday, we did what was considered one of the first major community programs in Barbados, where we had a program called Emerton Day. I have since moved it as I move out of Barbados to Florida. They have it in Boston, they have it in New York, and they have it in Atlanta. It's not called Emerton. It's not called Emerton Day, but the concept is the same. Where we bring Barbadians together who no longer live on the rock. So people got this thing of saying, "Man, American people, they're all criminals and all kind of thing." We still hear that. Only today, literally today, I had a conversation with some friends from Barbados that some of us grew up in the area and some didn't, and you still hear that. You know, I'm happy that Gabbard's have be able to use Emerton to bring some recognition, but the fight is still on. As we say, we
Marcia,
are
if
stubborn.
I could, I would want to ask Mr. Baxton a question, and I think
Oh,
you're Celeste's uncle, I believe. Was there an
yes,
issue? Was there an issue about the size of home? Because as I said,
yes, 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 ma'am. Yes,
I was
ma'am.
there
Yes,
from the
ma'am.
beginning, and
Yes,
I
ma'am. That's
recall that one of the problems people had, that they had certain size homes in Emerton, and they
correct.
were offered houses which were not of comparable size. So that was one of the problems people had. The other question I would want to ask, because I would have been much younger when this started, were people given a choice of where to go? Because everybody they couldn't move you as a
No, no, no,
whole.
no, no, no. It
Were
wasn't a
people
choice.
given
It wasn't a
a choice?
choice.
Oh,
We
okay.
know we from Edmonton, we know everybody can fit in Clapham Park. We all understand that. There were too many houses that all can fit in Clapham Park. But the issue we were having is that you had people who politicians would bring it into the neighborhood and saying, well, Maxine had a problem with her house and we got a white in the road in Broad Street, so they bring her from Broad Street and put her in Clapham. But when we
And
live in
ignore
Chapel,
somebody, okay, yeah.
I'm saying that those things were wrong. I was advocating from early when they talk about no rent houses going. I said, well, why don't you all build a few blocks and build them a little higher than the farm, and maybe all the rent people in Edmonton who want to live in the same area have that opportunity, and they didn't. So as I like to say, they destroy Edmonton. Because Edmonton is worse off today than 48 years ago. That's my opinion. Seriously,
Yes.
seriously, my opinion.
So,
Because like I said before, we in Clapham still don't have a bus service. We were promised that the Breton Hill bus, if they come in, let's say every hour, we won't get the one at 10, but the one at 11 will pass through. So it makes it easier, especially on the senior citizens who came from the town in the where they had to get on a bus to get in the town. I know some old lady, one old lady in particular, rest her soul. We call her Millie, who we say bakes some of the best sweet bread in the world, not in Barbados, in the world. And she will literally walk to town because she get tired of waiting for the bus. I mean, because when the bus comes, you can't get in. And we still got that problem and many other problems in Clapham Park today. We ain't had no lights when we moved to Clapham. Anthony Gabby Carter, Alec Watson, and myself went to the Barbados Light and Power and we complained, and that is how they had lights there. When we moved to Clapham, there were no street lights. Zero. I have never seen the then MP, Billy Miller, in Clapham Park. I ain't say she never went there, but I never saw her once. Because it was like, they're no longer my represent. I don't represent those people anymore. Who live up there will represent them. But so I'm saying it is a serious thing. We in Edmonton have been fighting for 48 years. We have been scattered, but the good thing about the Edmontonians, we are still together. Even though we live far away, all of us, we are still together. I have a chat that I do at least once a month, and we come on and we talk about issues and how we can help. I mean, I'm very proud at this time to say one of our Edmontonians is going to be the next president of Barbados, who I had a chance to grow up with. But even him, when he was an MP, I tell him personally, as though he's my friend, Mr. Bostic, I am disappointed in you. You should have done more for the Edmonton people. You are one of us. And that's how it is with me. As I said before, I ain't no LP or BLP or DLP. People might
Can I ask another question, Mr.
Sure.
Baxton?
before you do,
Sure.
Miss McKee, let me see what Theory. Theory. What is there anything you want to ask Mr. Batson or a comment that you want to make?
I didn't know all this was going on, to be honest. I'm gonna do further research on it, but based on what you were telling me, I'm very disappointed, and I would really like to say that I would like to apologize that something was not done to the satisfaction of those that live there, because it's not good to separate persons who grew up together. Maybe there was something that could have been done, as you said, placing the blocks in a way that the houses could be higher, something like that. But I'm just gonna keep listening, and then I'll give my other comments.
Okay.
Yes. And while just before Miss McLean comes in, somebody was asking what what are some of the issues that you're what is it that you're having, what are the present issues, what are your concerns? And I think one of them that I heard you say is that your uncle, whose house was used
No,
as
my brother, correct,
your
my
brother,
brother.
I'm sorry, your brother. So
Yes.
listen, guys, because you've got to listen to what he's saying. Because some of you are typing and we're not listening.
Yeah,
Let's
correct.
listen
Okay.
to each
That's okay.
other.
That's
He's
okay.
saying that his uncle, one of his issues is that his uncle's house, the first one to be moved, was used as an office. Was it like a political office?
No. It was used by National Housing to work with the people when they were
National
coming into the
housing.
area. Yes,
Oh,
National
I
Housing.
see. Okay, set up
National
to
Housing.
for the displacement and the moving
Yeah.
of people. And
Also,
you were
also, also, Miss Weeks, let me, sorry to interrupt, but let me tell you this thing. It took me years for National Housing to agree to give me the date the first house moved from Emerson. It was
yes.
like, it was like, why so hard? Why can't you tell us? You move our people, scatter them to and fro. But now we are asking a simple question. Could you give me the date? But I don't remember exactly. And when I was home recently, in celebration of the 40th anniversary, and we did it. People
Mm-hmm.
couldn't believe it. Why are you celebrating 48 years of this nonsense that they're doing to you all? But the reason we do it is that we want to keep it alive and keep it in the
Yes.
limelight, because I am saying I blame both parties. I can't say that enough. However, I am saying also to the present government, if you, because you're the one that won the 76 election, and you took over, you built this sewage plant, correct? And the plan from the former government was to move everybody from as far as from Kingston Road to Lakes Folly, Fontybell to Mason Hall Street. And we still got people living in all of those places I just told you. So which means don't tell me about the former government. No, I don't want to hear about the other government. You took over. When you want the praise, when the licks come, take the licks too. Because this is probably my memory might be wrong, but this is about the third time that they became the government of the country since then, and the people are still there. So I I am very passionate about Emerton because I grew up there. I born in Emerton. I have a picture with the home. The home is no longer there, but I see thing. I was able, thank the Lord, to come home for about a week and a half and be able to put a program together. And we got some mileage, and thankful to the nation and whoever else come out and help support that. But more importantly, the people in Clapham still need a bus service. Still need a bus service. We still got old people in Clapham. I think, and let me tell you, some people don't know the history, a lot of history. Let me give you a little bit of history because I know you got other people coming on.
Yes, and Ms. McLean has a question or a comment for you, but
Yeah,
finish
yeah,
what you're saying. Thank you.
okay. But for example, people don't know that Emerton produced people like Reggie Haynes, one of the greatest footballers out of the Caribbean, in my opinion. We know about Gabberts, but we got another guy called Richard Lane, and he got a song about the storage plant. I hope they get a chance to play. To me, it is even more biting than Gabbert's own Emerton. It-
What's
you
the
know,
name of the writer?
Richard Lane. Richard Lane. It's called the
Richard
sewage
Lane.
plant. It's one
Richard
of the
Lane.
items that I sent to you.
Yes,
Yeah,
okay.
but I'm saying, okay, you got Reggie Haynes. We had Young Waddell. We had one of the best social workers, in my opinion, in Barbados, a man called Reverend Chesterfield Morgan, rest his soul. And we are still fighting to get the community center renamed after him. I had a conversation about a month ago with the MP, and I say MP, I don't say representative because I personally have never seen an MP who represents the city. That's my opinion personally. None of them, on both sides or in between, however you want to call it, none of them represent the city, in my opinion, and especially Emerton. They come to Emerton. I like to tell people all the time, Emerton is divided two times. Listen carefully. I want all the listeners to hear clearly. I know I go fast, so I can go slow to make sure you get this one. Emerton is divided, in my opinion, only two times. It's when the rainfall and people who can't swim stay in the house because they want to come outside and drown. And at election time, by politicians who we see mainly at election time. Emerton is together every other time, but those two times is the only time that Emerton is divided.
Wow. Miss McLean, your comment or thoughts. I hope you
No, I
were
think I kind of almost forgot what it was I was asking. Um, Move on. It's it's gone past because I was thinking of something else. I think
right.
some people were asking about current issues because I think at the end of the day, what he has described is the history of problems faced by Emerton. What I'm trying to understand as I listen, and I think somebody had asked a question about current issues.
Miss
You
McLean,
are
could I interrupt you a little bit? I can give you a current issue. The current issue is that since the sewage plant is placed in Emerton, more families have lost people to cancer, and their families had never had a cancer death in their family before. So that is
so
the present issue. That is
so
the present
so
issue.
so one of the concerns you have is that they need to pay attention to the health status of
Correct.
persons
Yeah.
who still live there. My question is, since the intention was to move everybody, um, and recognizing that you were disturbing a community, um, of a community which was in close proximity to town and all the things that you mentioned, any relocation would have impacted families in multiple ways. I asked the question, were people given a choice, and you said no. The other question was, why is it that persons continue to be there in the situation that, are they still being offered, or are those people just waiting in vain? I'm trying to understand the circumstances of the persons who continue, because what you're saying to me, if I could pull together some of the concerns expressed, there were challenges which continue because people were relocated. Clapham Park was the area I was trying to remember. And they were relocated to an area where you did not have basic services, utilities, transport, etc. And 48 years later, some of those challenges remain. That's in relation to persons who move. In relation to persons who remain, people's health status has been jeopardized, affected, because I know of several cases, and I know some of your relatives. So I understand some of the challenges that they pose, and I know your sister was a major player in trying to get these issues resolved. But I'm trying to understand now, particularly for the person still in Emerton, what must be done.
Well, I am of the opinion. I'm not on the ground in Emerton, as you obviously, but I'm of the opinion that still that the best thing for the people is to be moved away, as far away from the source plant as possible. And also, I mean, simple things that I think that all the governments who were involved in the movement could have done. Why couldn't it be called Emerton Park, so people would know when you go up there, here's where we came from, and we're not Barbie's Gardens, but Emerton Gardens. I think that there is some simple things that wouldn't cost you anything, but not even that. Again, you're using the name to not even so the young people who grow up don't even remember where we came from. So right away, you're preaching, in my opinion, it could be wrong again, divide and rule, because I don't see why it can be called Emerton Park. Why it got to be called Clapham Park? If we want, you're already moving, which is a bad thing. Majority of people would say moving you from Emerton was not a good move. It doesn't matter what side you're on politically, and personally, I really am concerned with that part of it. I am saying that in the best interest of Barbados, that is not a good move. If you come and you bring a tourist, a bus full of tourists, and you carry them around there, and the tourist plant kick up, you will want to. What is someone thought people live wrong here? Because when they get real bad, I telling you, people that work in the port has got problems. So the tourist ships has got the problems too. You know what I'm saying? So people believe, but this body and this and that. But no, I am telling you, we need to get some serious work. The people, including my sister, as you mentioned before, sue the government and won the case. It's some years now, but they can't settle it because they say, but Miss Maxine, she only had 4 people living in her house, and we only can give Maxine because she owned the house and she daughter, and so no, we're not being given to them. But so them people in suffer too. So there's a whole heap of things. Unfortunately for the Emerton people, Bobby Clark, rest his soul, was the main lawyer, and he passed away. And there's a lot of people who passed away since, as I said before, a lot of them from cancer, that their families never experienced losing other family members from before. But since the sewage plant, it happens. I have a family member who worked at the sewage plant that right now he got Alzheimer's so bad, and he leave Canada to go home, praying that he could go to Barbados to help make a difference. And he got sick working in the sewage plant. And you don't, like I said, I like to say, you don't have to take my word for it. Do your research, and I'm welcome to come back on. And I guarantee you, if we're all honest, everything I told you is 100% correct.
Yeah. Well, I think Thierry has a question. Go ahead, open your mic, Thierry, and go ahead.
My question is, if the sewage plant is so bad, why aren't we as Barbadians looking to improve the conditions or the practices of processing sewage? I remember when I visited America, which is Florida, they had their sewage plant, but the way they process it, you couldn't even smell it. You don't even know that there was a sewage plant there, right? So I don't know if there's some type of best practice that we could implement or improve to solve those issues. Pertaining to what the gentleman said with respect to the names, yeah, that was something easy that could have been done, I think in terms of heritage. On that point, I agree with him. But for my last point, that's why I firmly believe that Westminster is failing the people. I firmly believe that we need an active president, a president that can come and say, okay, but this is a problem. The people bring a problem, send out a referendum, and then we go from there. But when you look at a B or D, and this party has control, and you have to go through this poor process of begging, as we call it, and nothing gets done. So I firmly believe that the people should always have the power, and this is a perfect example. I thank him for being here tonight, because if I have to speak about why we need the type of presidency that we need, I could draw from this. So I just want to say thank you, and that's basically it.
Yeah. Before Miss McLean comes in, somebody, I think people somehow, everybody is not fully understanding the issue. Someone is asking, so did you want to, why are you complaining that you were moved? And then they're wondering, so why are the people still there? Understand. So let's break it down quickly before Mr. Baxton leaves.
Okay.
Mr. Baxton, before Mr. Baxton, just let me say something here.
Okay, go ahead.
What Mr. Baxton is saying is this. They were living happily in Emerton. They then heard that there was going to be a sewage plant in Emerton. Okay, this was in the 1970s. This is during Mr. Barrow's tenure. And they were going to put a sewage plant there. And that they would need to move the people all the way from Fontabelle, and all of these people, right, would have to move along that stretch. And the government in opposition then came and said, listen, vote for us. If you vote for the BLP, you would not have to be moved, meaning that they're not going to build the sewage plant. They're going to kill the idea. Okay? They will kill the idea. No sewage plant. Vote for Billy Miller, BLP. Okay? He's saying that swayed the entire nation in getting rid of Mr. Barrow. The people went and voted for the BLP. In voting for the BLP, so they're happy. Emerton people are happy. They don't have to go anywhere. But then the BLP went and built the sewage plant. They said they could not stop it. So they went ahead and did it. And therefore, then said, okay, well, we know we will have to move you. Do you understand? So it's not that they are ambivalent about moving. It is that the politicians changed their minds on that, changed what they were doing. So then they said, okay, well, if you're building the sewage plant, we can't live near the sewage plant. So therefore, we will need to be moved. And they decided to move them to Clapham. Clapham could not hold everybody, didn't have all the amenities, no lights, no proper water, no services, all of those things. They moved them into terrible conditions. This is my understanding from Mr. Baxton. And then there's still people in Emerton that are still to be moved to find a place that they promised them. The same BLP government promised them that they're going to put them somewhere. They're still there, and some of them are dying of cancer. The smell is atrocious. They have all kind of illnesses because of the smell and because of all the chemicals coming from the sewage plant. Mr. Baxton, is this what you're saying?
Yes, but let me correct one thing.
Yes.
We did have water in Clapham Park, but we didn't have no lights.
No lights. Okay.
As I like to say, the movie up there, and it was when it get 6 o'clock, it was darker than midnight because there was no lights. You know, so and why saying to you, like I said before, you're welcome to go to Clapham Park and talk to any of the senior people who live up there and have been living there for a while. And I guarantee you, whenever you have a chance and I can come back on your show,
yes, I'm going to do that, sir.
They would tell you the truth, and it's exactly what I'm saying. You know, there's no bus service that pass through Clapham Park. And for example, in Clapham, when they built the little 2x2 foolish community center, I stood on the rock that was given to us by Rayside and tell the then MPs, Mr. Henry Ford, rest his soul, and Bradshaw, this is a band of crap. Because in Emerton, you bring in people who are vibrant and into sports. As I said before, we had Robert Earl, Caribbean table tennis champ. We had Marva Carter, first woman that ever represented Barbados in table tennis. We had Patsy Canada, who lived across the street, but spent most of her life and growing up in and around Chapman Lane. You had young Waddell, a boxer. I said before, Jackie Opel, one of the greatest singers of all time. You know, and I can go on and on. Frank Walker, even though he was from St. Philip, spent a lot of, I mean, St. Peter, correction, spent a lot of time in Everton because he was one of the founding members of Everton Sports Club. And Everton Sports Club came from the Reef. For those who could remember, they had the Reef. I heard about the Reef. I never knew about it. But my understanding that Everton Club, since so the people in Everton was mostly, I would say, a fishing community, but they live most of their lives in town. The only most time you get a bus is if you go to maybe excursion. But now you carry me and put me in a place, so I got to get a bus, but there's no accommodation for us. And like I said before, it's still happening today, 48 years later.